Exactly. So they just, parents, I'm like, it's a different world because I know when I was 14, I was long gone. I was at the beach talking to them. It's been a generation, exactly. So we're watching them.
She's going to be
watching them.
I understand. As well as the backup.
Oh, okay, so yes.
I'm doing great. How's everything? You ready for summer?
I'm very happy
That
here.
was more shorts.
I'm so excited he made it.
Oh, Beth, I'll help. A fight in the audience, in the balcony during graduation. At a stop ceremony.
What was who could be fighting about? They were inside, that's
Sit
why.
down, I can't see.
So the problem was they were inside.
Inside.
Outside, you don't have that.
They had a fight.
Why can we see that up with the James?
Fight in the balcony.
Oh, we
Where
just had to
have
pass out.
I guess we will say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And by the way, the reason my wife didn't say the pledge yesterday, at that end of the field, she didn't know what was going on, it was the microphone. The speakers weren't working.
Yeah, Peter's the only one I know who calls out his wife on.
Well, she was standing there just leaning on the fence, and I'm like, what are you doing? The speakers didn't work at that end of the field.
It's like the baseball field?
No, she was standing where we walked in under the gate.
I hope they weren't working, Peter, because that's her claim, and I don't want her to be in trouble. Okay, actually, we will identify that we are calling this meeting to order at 5:02, and of course, this is a presentation for the audit committee of those documents and data that will be looked upon by the board in the next few weeks to months and brought back again to be accepted. We will accept and brought back again to be analyzed and evaluated. So with that said, at the table we have Laura Newman, Peter Wunsch, Joseph Panaccio, Dr. James, myself, Mrs. Goober, Mr. Gene Barnowski, and Mara Harvey as our counsel, and presentation should begin.
Okay, what I can do is pass out copies of all of the reports. I believe that they were emailed tonight. The auditor, who I noticed is not yet here, so I'm hoping that she's not caught in traffic. I did confirm that they would be here at 5. Will be presenting throughout the course of the year. They have been doing a number of different, I have enough. A number of different areas that they come in throughout the fiscal year.
Lauren, so do you have another set of Mary Jo?
Oh,
This I have two of, and
I'm sorry.
that's quite all right. I didn't take this very, yes. That's what you must have thought.
So now, as a culmination of all of their work of the year, they have put together draft reports that they want to discuss with the audit committee. The next step after that, barring any unforeseen discrepancies, something of that nature, they would then get placed on a regular board agenda for acceptance, just like the external audit report is. So, nope, still not them. So if we can maybe do the first order of business, which would be to review the proposed audit calendar for next year. Kept it in fashion of the previous year. As you know, as per board policy, we meet 4 times a year. Typically, we would do the July and October, November timeframe. November is when the external auditor presents the annual financial audit report. The next item would be May, which is when the external auditor comes in for the pre-audit planning. And then the final meeting is typically at the June point, which, as you recall, this was scheduled for June 13th and was postponed until tonight. So we're proposing that at the next June 12th of 2014, that the internal audit reports for next year would be presented at that meeting.
And just as a point of information, the fact that we must have this meeting prior to the end of technically the end of the school year, places it this week as opposed to even waiting until we will be meeting again next week.
Technically, if we waited beyond June 30th, we would be out of compliance with our own policy.
Okay. And this acceptance of
But-
calendar is not a resolution, it's simply an acceptance as a.
Just a proposed,
Right.
as,
But I'm confused. What is the purpose of the meeting?
the purpose of the meeting tonight is for the internal auditor to present their findings of their work that
Okay.
they've been doing throughout the year.
Right, so I'm still confused why it wasn't presented 2 weeks ago and why we only got it an hour and a half ago. Bottom line, I said this 2 years ago, I cannot look at this or make any sense of a report I get an hour and a half before a meeting, and I'm not going to listen to the report. They're dated May 10th, why did we get it on June 24th?
Typically, the reports are sent out in advance and they're in draft form. The auditors review them with you in the audit committee meeting. And then the board, if they have any questions, the auditors will report back any.
I stated this 2 years ago.
Well,
I
actually,
need to see it in advance to be able to discuss something at a meeting. I cannot sit here and review the fiscal activities of the district in 5 minutes when it's this many pages.
of course, one would not ever think that that would be expected of the board at all. We are accepting the reports, is that correct?
No,
Accepting.
tonight you're not accepting the reports.
I don't mean accepting them, meaning voting yes or no on them. I'm saying
Right.
they're
There's no
just
vote.
being handed to us. This
Correct.
is like the formal way of them being handed to us. Now, in fact, Peter, you're correct that you might be able to, at this moment, have addressed something specific, but you do have that opportunity to do
The
that.
opportunity would be tonight when it's presented, not some point in the future by my sending an email and handling something else. This is not the way it should be done, and I said it 2 years ago.
Well, actually, Peter, let me ask you something. If we were to have a regular meeting and something is presented to the board, and we're sitting here and the board gets questions that we have to look into, would you have wanted so whoever's
Did you
presenting?
do the fiscal? I went through the fiscal training. In the fiscal training, we're responsible for, this is our primary responsibility.
Absolutely.
After Rosalind.
I think everybody
And
here
I
did that.
cannot read this and make any coherent comments to the auditors on an hour's worth of notice on this, on something I get by email.
How-
Let me ask the question, when did our district administrators have a copy of this? Did you have it 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Then this is unacceptable. You guys can continue, I'm just gonna sit here, I'm not
Well,
making any further comments
I
all night.
understand.
I'm done.
And in fact, though, where there is further opportunity to, even if we got these well in advance of tonight, and some had the ability to exercise looking at it, as Peter would have, looking at it right off the bat and understanding it and having questions, even if it was a couple of days ago, prior to tonight. Do we not have an opportunity through the course of time, from now to when we do accept it, you know,
Mary Jo, quit making excuses for the fact that it's late.
I've not,
Because they're doing this for 13 years. It's late, damn it.
Peter, are you okay?
No, I'm not. You're the one yesterday who said things about me, and we'll discuss it in there. This is late, and don't make excuses for the fact that it's late. It's late,
I'm
period.
not making excuses. You haven't heard me make an excuse.
You're making excuses. You're saying I can get back in 2 months. Tonight's the night when the auditors are here for me to make comments, and I can't do it, and I'm abrogating my responsibilities as a board member to this community on the fiscal viability of this district. You're asking me to sit here and go blind into this meeting, and it's not happening.
Fine.
You three can go ahead and do what you need to do.
Give the board opportunity to review that.
But then we're also going to handle this at another point in time, are we not?
At some point, yes, the board, as
It's
a
not
full
that
board.
your opportunity has been eliminated. The process says you accept, they present, then you have a chance to look at it and analyze. And in fact, with me being...
Report dated May 10th, I get it on June 24th.
Peter?
That's
Peter,
not acceptable,
so then that's
period.
fine. Okay,
And
so-
by the way, I do have a separate comment. The vice president runs these meetings, not the president.
It hasn't been that way for quite some
Then
time.
when you change the rules, the bylaws state that the vice president runs the meetings.
The bylaws...
The rules say the vice president runs the meetings, you should be running them the way you set the
Who
rules.
said that as I walked out the door,
Yes,
Mrs.
you did.
Kluber?
Okay, so I will
Peter, you're on a roll here.
I will now take control. of
That's
it.
right, I am.
Peter, I would expect, as now I'm running the meeting, that you at least conduct yourself with a little bit of decorum. You can be unhappy, you can refuse to participate, but I would expect that as we all operate with some level of civility, that you could do the same. That's all I'm asking, number one. Number two, Mrs. Newman, in considering this, if we adjourn the meeting and rescheduled before the end of June, right, so we would have to before the end of June in order to satisfy the policy that we set, that we meet 4 times within the course of the school's fiscal year. So if we did that,
This is the fourth meeting.
This is
I
the fourth.
understand.
We're okay.
So we're okay. So if we then reschedule this now for this meeting for sometime in July, we're not in violation of that policy?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So then I would like to make a motion that we reschedule this meeting for the reorg, if that's possible? Or that's kind of
At the
a,
board's convenience.
okay, we'll do that. We will reschedule it at the board's convenience. That's my motion. Do we have a second? Any discussion?
Let me ask for further discussion, because I need to have this clarified for myself, because this has never been otherwise, no matter how far back you go, that this particular process of handing us these particular pieces of paper has always been the day of, if not perhaps the night before. Never failed before. 13, 14, I don't know how many years you go back, Mr. Wunsch, but that's the way it's always been. Also, the fact that we would have this presentation and then still be allowed, because the presentation is simply that.
The presentation is for the auditor to present what they've done, what they found with the board.
Kind
and then at a
of
later
bullet
date.
points to look at, to kind of oversee what we've looked at, just to generally identify to us where they've considered, and actually at our direction. So we should know actually what they were looking at, because it was our direction that sent them in that particular way. Therefore, that process still is open to multiple times, if not through emails, as well as formally when we sit down again, where the actual acceptance of these particular set of data takes place. Correct.
Correct.
We have covered ourselves as far as having the meeting for this year. It would be, I'm not sure, actually, right now, we leave hanging in the air whether or not this acceptance will be based on an acceptance of all the information, because I don't think the process ever was open to that. The process opened up the opportunity to do this for much more time. Now, if Mr. Wunsch wants to get in the discussion here, we might want to consider where is it that you feel, how much ample time would you have to sit and look at this and then say, okay, at least I will accept it as your data. That's all we're doing here now, accept the data, and then we'll all go about our business of analyzing and moving forward on it. So what's your time frame for that to work?
You mean how long will I need to read this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I haven't looked at it, it was just handed to me.
Well, in order to try to gain some perspective of when we would want to.
I don't
set the
think
next
July
meeting.
2nd is a good day. I think we have
That
too
is,
much
I agree. That is
on
too
our
much.
plate
That
at the
is
July
true.
2nd
I agree.
meeting.
I agree.
I agree.
That's true.
Okay.
So somewhere,
I'm on vacation the following week, so is Mrs. Goober. I don't know if we have to set a date today. Let's set a date on July 2nd. However, I do need to clarify something you said. This has not been going on for 13 years.
Yes, it has.
Because there was not an internal audit committee until after
Okay,
Roslyn.
I'm sorry, you're right, because it was the external audit committee process that we were attending to. You're absolutely correct. What was the date that we started the audit committee? Do you recall? Roslyn days? When was it?
I don't know. It was
You're
on
good
the
with
board.
dates, Peter, you know better.
You know what, I really.
That's a date you let go.
I really don't, no, I don't know. I don't know.
So-
2005.
thank you.
Thank
you.
So,
Thank you.
so can we have
Oh,
a
wait.
resolution to the
8
motion? Oh, I'm
years.
sorry, Mr. Panaccio.
Moving forward, I don't disagree with Peter that we should have this a little bit early.
Sure.
Okay, I don't think anyone would disagree.
No, no one would disagree with that.
Moving forward, could we ask the auditors and the district to make sure that the board has it a week ahead of time? Is that sufficient?
At least.
Okay,
Is that something that we
I
could put
believe-
into the
I think
policy?
we could probably, they could
So
probably
this
accommodate
doesn't
that.
happen again. I do agree with Peter. I got the email 20 minutes ago. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even open it. I
All right.
discussed
So
it
we'll make that as a,
as part of
as a kind of a-
moving forward to help this committee.
Sounds good. All right, so the motion is on the floor. Do we have a second? So is all discussion completed?
What's the motion?
That we adjourn this meeting to have, then we'll set the date, as Peter said, at
The
the
will
July
of the
2nd.
board.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No, on principle.
There you go.
Okay, that's fine. 3 yes, 1 no.
So glad you showed up.
Who made the motion?
I made the motion,
I seconded it.
seconded it.
Sorry. Amateur clerks.
Can I
Good
clarify
work,
something as far as process? Mrs. Goober, we had originally in our policy had budget meetings, just for those of you that are new to the excitement here. We had budget meetings year after year where the vice president ran the budget meeting. And we used to sit with the big book and analyze the entire page system. Some of you probably came to those meetings way back when. With our bringing in a whole nother process, which we, the board, believed was an improvement, again, that's out for different opinion, the need for someone to run that meeting was totally eliminated. So in regards to what Mr. Wunsch might have suggested of me across the board changing everything, it happened to be that those were the policy, and then when the audit committee was added to our responsibilities, somewhere back 2005 or so, that was just another one of those meetings that the vice president would run. And Mrs. Goober is more than ready and willing to run any meeting. She's excellent at it. And I apologize for sitting here.
Could I make a motion then to change the policy of the board to have all the audit reports at least a week ahead?
Well, that isn't policy. We would want to make sure that would be a process that we would.
Is that something we can do a year, or is that something?
Well,
Actually, we have to do it
that,
in
you gotta watch out when you start with policy, because we still have to communicate with the people that will be giving us these, both external and internal. And when it's policy, it's in stone, and when it's process or procedure, it's, could be procedure and have that kind of flexibility, but that's certainly up to the board. Huh,
Okay, so then,
you wanna go and
Mrs.
do this?
okay, well, Mrs. Newman, given that, are we done here? There was nothing else to be presented, okay.
Those were the two items.
Alrighty, so then may I have a motion to adjourn the audit committee meeting?
We did that. Nope.
Oh, we did not. Don't
Motion
confuse
made by
me,
Mr.
Mara.
Panaccio, seconded by me.
Well,
We did do
We
that, I'm
did
sorry.
do it.
We did do that, at the will of the board. You voted on it.
Peter didn't know.
It
Did we
was
do
first, second, 3
I don't
months.
know,
No,
I just
Peter
voted
was,
no, I wasn't paying
no,
attention.
no, you got that wrong. Peter's know about the proposal
About the
to
proposal.
adjourn this meeting and have another.
Right,
Right.
so, but that's not adjourning, oh, so that counts.
That was
Yeah,
it, we're out of
fine.
the audit
Okay,
committee now.
all
Yeah,
right,
so
so
now we're out of
now,
Now you're sitting as the Board of Education.
holy cow, so now I'd like to,
Convene.
okay, so now you do this, that's a special meeting.
Right.
Could you get
I-
a move to the seat?
No, okay, just keep going.
All right. Now, may I have a motion? We are adjourning into exec.
No, we're calling the special meeting to order.
Now we call the special meeting. to
Special
order.
meeting of the Board of Education to order.
Same people are at the table as I
Correct.
previously mentioned. That will be at 5:19. Calling meeting to order, special meeting. And now, motion to adjourn into exec session to discuss, may I have the motion? To discuss pending litigation in the matter of Commack Union Free School District versus Jewish Academy, and to discuss the employment history of a particular person.
So moved.
Motion made by Mrs. Goober, seconded by Mr. Wunsch. Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously.
Will you guys be coming out to close the meeting?
Yes,
No, we're only gonna come out to adjourn. We're not,
That's what you asked, yeah,
Are
we
there any
got
mo-
to close the meeting.
Are there any motions?
no, we're not doing any business other than adjourning when we come
It's
back
all
out. And that'll
legal
be
and,
2 or 3 hours from now.
Review.
So when you come out,
Correct.
bid-
About an error in the graduation story.
it's done.
You fixed, okay, I can go back on.
Steve.